What insult have your parents said, that is stuck in your head as an adult? You're so annoying. Said to me as a young kid while I was expressing enthusiasm over some new interest. Later my father complains I never tell him anything. My little brother was drowning, I tried to save him but also almost drowned, we got rescued by a neighbor. My mom told me that they should have left me in the pond. I haven't spoken to her in many years. What did I do to deserve a fat kid? My parents divorced when I was young and they hate each other. My mom would call me my dad's name when she was really upset. What makes it worse is that I confided in her that I never wanted to be like my dad. She used that ammunition against me. Dad, when I was about 10, if I kill you, I can make another one just like you and no one will notice. You can't even laugh, right? My mom, in a weird moment I thought we were bonding. There's something inherently extra evil when someone tells you your joy is wrong. She told me I was acting just like my father when I would get upset. I would just get kinda pissy and sulk. He would go on rampages and scream and hit and throw things. He pushed her down the stairs once. I would never lay a finger on my current partner. The worst part is I look just like him. I was wondering if my mother always expected me to turn into my dad. I prove her wrong every day. Edit. Thank you to everyone who shared their own stories. It's good to know I'm not alone. Also, to the people suggesting I had previous partners I would actually abuse, I can understand the wording could have been better, but how dare you? When I was 10 years old, my mum once said if I could go back in time and make sure I never gave birth to you, I would in a heartbeat. Never forgot it. Talked to her about it a couple of times years later and her responses ranged from that never happened to oh yeah and I suppose I'm just the worst mother ever and finally yeah but I didn't mean it, you know that. Messed me up though tbh. Another one was older sibling was the only child we actually planned for, the rest of you were accidents. I don't think it was intended as an insult, but being told your entire existence was an accident as a child kinda stung. I was an only child and lonely. When I asked for a sibling, the response was if you want to know why we don't have more kids, go look in the mirror. Not a parent but a grandparent, I was adopted when I was 12 years old. My parents were both drug addicts so I was in and out of foster care most of my life. My adopted mother's father turned to me on Christmas Eve when no one else was around and said my daughter should have never adopted you, she should have let you stay on the streets where you belong. He got nicer as he got older and sicker but I couldn't find it in myself to forget what he said even almost 10 years later. Went to the funeral for moral support but was indifferent about his passing. Half man half mattress my old man when I wouldn't get out of bed. Edit, for those asking, he was being amazing and funny. 1990, I was 16 and had to get up at 4:30 for work, he got me up and out the door every morning. A nice wee story. Like a half a century ago, my mother and I were talking and the topic of someone's eye color came up, I forget who. I sincerely asked, what color are my eyes? They are sort of a grey-green, she looked at them closely and told me, sort of a shit brindle. I still bring that up from time to time. The only reason I had kids is to serve me. I only wanted one boy and one girl, bitch had 3 boys. My mother said lots of things like that. I'll just talk about one of the most memorable. While I went to go inside the corner store, she stayed behind in the car. Outside the store was a kid that had a crush on me. He grabbed my ass and I bitched him out. My mother saw all this. In the following days and weeks she basically accused me of being a slut, implying that I somehow invited it. She tried convincing my father of this, told her co-workers about it, everything except being a mom infuriated that someone touched their daughter like that. I sometimes wish your seizure killed you when you were 2 years old. What show stayed good from start to finish? Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Every last one is a banger. Blackadder. Better Off Ted. Amazingly funny, poorly marketed and pushed to the fringes. It's the show I wish would have kept going, even more than Gasp Firefly. Avatar: The Last Airbender. Fleabag. 2 absolutely perfect seasons. I Look Like a Pencil. Band of Brothers. Loved all of Peep Show. Galavant, the fact that it got cancelled was a tragedy. 6 Feet Under. In fact the last episode was, hands down, the best last episode of any series I've ever seen and will probably ever see. Derry Girls. The Inbetweeners, UK. Malcolm in the Middle. Gravity Falls. Chernobyl. Mindhunter. It sucks that there won't be a third season. What is the most unexpected thing you've seen live on TV? In the UK, a TV personality and her son who is disabled were on a live TV show. From what I recall, the topic being discussed was online bullying. When her son was asked about what to say to these bullies, his response was, "Hello you cunts." Absolute classic British TV right there. The O.J. Simpson Bronco chase. They interrupted the NBA playoffs to show it live instead of the game. It was surreal. Deleted. I can't find a clip of it anywhere, but it was Thanksgiving morning in Los Angeles, and a news team went to surprise a family in need with a full Thanksgiving dinner. They showed up to the house, and I really think they went to the wrong place. The person at the door looked confused by the name the reporter was giving them, but they were live, and I'm sure the reporter was freaking out, so she shoved her way into the home with the camera crew and a bunch of people with food. They're all standing in the living room, and the reporter is telling this bewildered woman about what food they brought. Then the woman takes a picture off the mantle and starts crying, telling the reporter her baby died. The reporter was trying to turn the conversation back to the surprise dinner, but the woman only wanted to talk and show pictures of her dead baby. It was the cringiest thing I've ever seen on live TV. The reporter standing at a 45-degree angle, holding onto the street sign for dear life in a wind/rainstorm as he was reporting. And the two dudes casually walking past, not leaning whatsoever and without difficulty. The Space Shuttle Challenger exploding into the Florida sky. A Formula One driver hitting a wall at Imola and attempts being made to resuscitate him on the track. They weren't successful. Roland Ratzenberger died during qualifying, and things continued to get out of control as crew, drivers, and spectators were injured over the weekend, and Ayrton Senna died during the race. Motor racing is obviously not 100% safe, but the number of incidents and 2 fatalities over the course of a single event was astonishing. It really was like the track was cursed. I was watching football, soccer, a few years ago, and the referee stopped play for a foul. The slow-mo replay showed the fouling player grab the other player's shorts as he stepped across him, and use them to try to stop his momentum. The shorts stretched a long way, exposing his penis, which then proceeded to flap around in slow-mo, for about 5 seconds, whilst the commentators pretended it wasn't happening. Okay, so in Southern California we love our high-speed pursuits. They're regularly crazy, and every news program will switch from whatever they were going to talk about to the pursuit. It's fantastic entertainment. But sometime in the 90s, some guy being chased by the cops stopped on a freeway overpass. He got out of his car and had a shotgun in his hands. He didn't aim it at the cops, so they just set up a perimeter, and every news station waited and watched, zoomed in closely, for what was sure to be a spectacular conclusion. The guy suddenly aimed at his own face and fired, right on live TV. I heard the eye in the sky screaming, "Pull back! Pull back!" at the cameraman once the shotgun guy started to aim, but they were not quick enough. Everyone got to see this guy's red mist live. Everyone at school was talking about it the next day. Pretty sure a whole lot of new live news rules were put in place after that. Anderson Silva's leg snapping like a twig. Hostage situation during the news. The news presenter was talking when an armed man walked in and took them hostage. It was wild. One time I was flipping through channels and nothing was on. Snowmobile freestyle on the Winter X Games caught my eye for no good reason. Then the guy is in the air either trying to backflip or he just rotates too far on a big jump. The snowmobile lands what looks like directly on his chest. I'm shocked, thinking surely he wasn't going to survive. I can't recall what the normal announcers were saying or if they cut to something less dramatic. But then the sideline reporter type woman said she interviewed the athlete while he was being taken away and he felt like he just woke up from the longest dream ever. So I was optimistic since he was able to speak. Maybe even walk off under his own power. But I looked it up over the next day or two and he died in the hospital. That line from his interview still sticks with me. I remember in college turning on the TV and seeing most of a building collapsed and learning it was the FBI building in OK City that had been bombed. A few years later, on almost the same day, watching the live coverage of the Columbine school shooting. I also remember watching the end of the Waco siege a couple years before the OK City bombing. All of these stick in my head because they all happened on the day of or before my sister's birthday, 4/20. For a few years it was like, shit, what else is going to happen on this date? A plane flying into a New York skyscraper. I wasn't able to sleep one night,
so I flipped on the television just in time to see the 2011 tsunami make landfall in Japan. I was not expecting that. 9/11th second, and the Challenger breaking apart third, although, I was able to see that from our patio. Went back inside for the details.